What would it feel like to be truly, deeply happy, regardless of your circumstances? Did you know that happiness is a choice and not a result? That you can create your life on purpose? Join us now to learn more. This is the Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. And here's your host, mindset coach, and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott, mindset and empowerment expert. And today we have a good one. Today is you always have a choice. So this is a really interesting thing because sometimes we feel like our circumstances are dictating to us or like we are required to do certain things. And that may well be true. That may well be true, but I'm going to give you a hint. I'm going to give you a really great tool. If you are in the space of I have to, that really implies that you have no choice, doesn't it? It implies that you have no choice and you are required to do something. It feels almost like I have to do this against my will. Okay, so feel that for a second. If you switch that statement into I choose to do this thing, all of a sudden you are the empowered person. You are the person who is making the decision, whatever that looks like. So we're going to dig into this today because sometimes even when we feel like we have no choice or we aren't choosing something, we actually are. So what if we could shift this thing around and make it about I am choosing, I am empowered, I am making an informed choice or an informed decision. What if we could do that? That's your power place. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So on Time to Rise and Thrive, what we do every single Friday is we talk about this subliminal soundtrack. And I'm going to give you a bit of an explanation for that in just a few minutes. But we talk about subliminal soundtrack and how to get it working for you rather than against you. We talk about recognizing your unique beauty, your value, the importance, the contribution that you bring to the world just by being here. Just by being here. Isn't that amazing? You change the flavor of everything that you interact with, every relationship, every pastime or activity. Think about that for a second. I want you to just sort of perceive that you're doing, I don't know, maybe you play pool or you're playing cards or you're swimming or you're playing a sport or whatever. Isn't it different when one person is there or not than it is the other time? So think about that. If you have a baseball team, let's go with a baseball team, and you have a really incredible third baseman and that person misses a game, doesn't that change the dynamic for the whole game? Or maybe they're new to the team. Doesn't that change the dynamic of the team? So think about that. No matter what you're doing, no matter what you're bringing to the table, you are changing the dynamics and the circumstances of everything that you choose to be involved with. And that's what we're talking about today. So today's show again is called You Always Have a Choice. So go back to that thing of I have to. I have to implies that I have no choice. But what if I told you that you always have a choice, even when you don't realize you're making one? Would it make it easier to consider that you choose to do the things required for whatever it is that you want to do? You choose to do the things that are required to support the life that you're living. You choose that. When we switch it from I have to I choose to, we actually empower ourselves. And some of the things that seem difficult simply become part of the circumstance. It gets easier to bear those responsibilities. There's no getting away from these things, right? So if you choose to buy a car, you're not just making the choice to buy the car, you're choosing to drive it responsibly. You're choosing to pay for the gas and the insurance and the maintenance and all of those other things. If you choose to buy a home, there are maintenance requirements there. You need to pay the mortgage. There are requirements and responsibilities that come along with those things. And it's just part of the job. It's just part of the thing. So when we perceive it from the place of I have to pay my mortgage, it's a very different energy than I pay my mortgage because I choose to live in this home. Isn't it? It's a very different energy. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So first, let's get to the subliminal soundtrack so you'll understand what I'm talking about if I bring that up as we're going along, which I very likely will. So subliminal soundtrack is this loop of messages that plays in the back of your mind all day, every day. It's made up of little bits of information that you've collected over the course of your life. So every conversation you've ever had, every lesson you've learned, every relationship you've been part of, every single experience has given you little bits of information right from the time you were born until today. Little bits of information. Now we use that information to create our belief systems about everything. We use our subliminal soundtrack and that information to create our belief about ourselves. What are we worthy of? What are we deserving of? What does it mean to love or be loved? What does it mean to have money or to not have money? Every single part of your life is influenced by your belief systems, and we create the circumstances of our lives to support the belief systems that we have. Isn't that fascinating? Again, this is your PowerPoint or your power position. I choose the circumstances to support the belief system that I carry. And it's even more fascinating when you understand that what we believe to be true will be true for us, even if it's based on completely incorrect information. So one of the things that's really come up for me over the last few weeks is I've been perceiving this from a place of what can I have? What can't I have? What choices can I make? So I would like for you to just imagine for a second that you're standing on the edge of a cliff. Now, there is something that you really, really want that's over there. And there's, whatever, there's a space between this cliff and that cliff. And you really want that thing. Maybe it's a new car. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's whatever it is. Maybe it's a different career. It could be anything, but there is something over there that you really, really want. If I am someone who believes that it's not available to me, and that could go to my feelings of worthiness and deserving. It could go to my beliefs about my abilities to create things or my abilities to do the thing that's required to get there. Whatever it is, if I don't believe that it's available to me, I'm going to do one of probably two things. I'm going to either stand on the edge of that cliff and feel really sad that that thing that I so want in my life is over there and I can't get to it. Or I'm going to look at that thing and say, okay, it's not available to me. Am I going to waste my energy or am I going to go in a different direction? Now, I want to be really clear. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you can shift that belief system to, okay, I can see it. And if I can see it, that likely means that I can get there. How do I get there? Shift, huge mind shift when you do that, because then you start to get busy looking around. So what are the resources that I need? What education do I need? What financial resources? What relationships? What do I need to build the bridge that takes me from this side of the cliff where I can't reach it over to the other side where it is absolutely available to me? So you shift your mindset to be, how can I get there, rather than I can't get there. Completely different conversation, isn't it? Yes. Yes. Okay. So let's look at this thing about always having a choice from the standpoint of the subliminal soundtrack. So if you believe that you have no choice, that your circumstances are the result of outside forces or influences, or that you have to do a certain things, you have to do a certain thing, you will likely live at the mercy of your circumstances, and you may never feel empowered to choose for yourself. Do you see what I'm saying? So think about those people. We all know them. There are those people out there that maybe it's an illness, or maybe it's a family circumstance, maybe it's financial situations, whatever it is, because it can be anything, right? So we know those people that just get really comfortable inside those circumstances, and they go, okay, well, this is it. This is it. And I better get comfortable with it because this is it. But if you are someone who understands things from a different place, you always have a choice. You choose things understanding that there are responsibilities, that there are consequences to every choice that you make. And you have a different view of those responsibilities or those consequences because you have actively chosen them. So we're going to talk about a few different things that this could show up as we go through the show. And one of the things that I would really encourage you to do is grab yourself a pen and paper and get ready to take some notes, because there's likely going to be one or two things at least that are going to come out as we go through the show that may be a bit of a golden nugget for you. Again, our mindset, our belief systems is where everything lives. So if we can shift that mindset, that's where we become empowered. Okay. That's where we live from. That's where we choose from. And the choice feels completely different. Completely different. Okay. So one other thing before we get too far into this is there is a free article on my website, jackiemott.com. It is called 5 Steps to Create a Mindset Wired for Success. It is my free gift to you. Go on there, grab that article, and it's going to give you some of the information that you need to start shifting those mindset issues, those limiting beliefs, and creating a new belief system that actually propels you toward the things that you desire in your life. It's my free gift to you. Go grab it. And you can also find me on Facebook at Jackie Mott Mindset and Empowerment Expert. Haven't been on there very much, choosing not to be on there very much over the last few weeks because I've got other things that are requiring my attention right now. And it doesn't feel very good for me to be spending a lot of time on that. Choosing. Do you see what I'm saying? So I could have gone into the energy of, oh, I have to do that. I have to go onto Facebook every day or several times a day. In my circumstances right now, that's not feeling right. So I'm just choosing something different. You get to choose. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to do that. Okay. So we're coming up on our first break here. So I want to get a little bit more information about this before we go to the break. And then in our next segment, we're really going to dig into that. So let's talk about this I have to mindset. This is where our limiting beliefs are really holding us in place. So for example, if I decide when I'm 18 years old that I would like to go into a certain field and I go to school and I get an education, and then I go and I start working in that field. If I have decided, if I have a belief system that tells me that I'm never allowed to change my mind, I might be absolutely miserable in that career for the entire time that I'm working. Do you know people like that? I know people like that. I used to be a person like that. You commit your time, your energy, your resources to that education and that career path. How do you change it? How do you change it? So I have to stick with this one career path for the rest of my life. Feel the limitations on that. What if I find that I really hate the work? Or what if I find that something else really lights me up? Or what if I don't even know about a certain thing that might be available, a business, a type of work that I didn't even understand was available to me? Do you see what I'm saying? You can get stuck in those things, and that is your limiting beliefs at work. When you choose, then you are actively participating in the process. Okay, so maybe you choose to stay there. Maybe the money is fantastic, the benefits are great, it works for the family situation, whatever it is. And I want to be really clear. I have absolutely no judgment. I'm not saying one choice is better than the other. I'm saying you get to be the person who makes that choice. And with anything that we talk about on the show today or any other day, I really would encourage you to listen and take the things that resonate for you. If there's something that comes out that you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense, then let it go. Don't worry about it. Not everything I say is brilliant. There are some things that I say are pretty smart, and there are some things that may not resonate for you at all. So that's okay. Take what resonates for you, learn, do whatever you can with that, and then let go of the rest. All right. Okay. So when we are doing that, we are making an informed decision. We are making the choice to do whatever is required. Like I said, if I buy a house, then I am choosing to pay a mortgage. I'm choosing to maintain the property, the insurance, like all of that kind of stuff, all of the responsibilities that go along with that choice. So that's where we need to be clear. What is the choice that I'm actually making? That's where we need to get clear. So we're going to head to our first break. You're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. When we come back, we are going to talk more about the importance of understanding the art of choice, even when you don't realize that you're choosing. So stick with us for just a moment. We will be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about you always have a choice, the importance of the art of choosing for yourself, even when you don't think that you're making a choice. Isn't that interesting? I know this stuff fascinates me. It absolutely fascinates me. So let's just get real about this whole thing. Okay. Can we just do that? We'll drop all the crap and just get real about it. You always have a choice. You can choose whatever you like, but know that there are always consequences. Some of them may be pleasant, some of them may be unpleasant, but no matter what, whether you're choosing with consciousness or whether you're deciding to not choose at all, there are consequences for that choice. Do you see what I'm saying? It is this thing where you are actively choosing or you are allowing the circumstances to be whatever they are without your involvement. That's why this place is the disempowered place, and the place where you are actively choosing gives you your power. So some of them, again, could be pleasant, some may be unpleasant, very likely both. There's usually, some good and some bad, and that's not really very good language, but you understand what I'm saying, right? So let's just talk about going back to school. Okay, you're an adult, you've gone back to school. So maybe you were the person who was 18 years old and decided to go into this field, and then realized when you were 30 that you really did not want to spend the next 30 years working in that field. So you make a choice to go back to school. So what are the consequences of that choice? Well, if you have to leave your job in order to do the schooling, then, there will be financial implications to that choice, correct? Right. So there will be the financial implications. There will be, your time and your energy, or, also, are you going to continue to work and go to school part-time? There will be time and energy and financial implications of that choice any way you go. And we need to get kind of clear about that. So again, there's often a financial commitment, and that would likely mean either a student debt or savings depleting or something like that. There's almost always a financial commitment when you choose to take a course or a new degree, whatever it is. There's almost always that kind of stuff. There's the investment of your time, your energy, your mental power, and what is that going to impact? It depends on your circumstances. If you're still single and, you don't have dependents or spouse or whatever, then maybe it's isolated to you and the things that you get to do when you're not studying. But if you're somebody who's got a family, well, that's going to impact your time with your children and your spouse and all of that kind of stuff. So those are the impact points, right? We cannot expect, and most of us do not expect to do something like that and not have to deal with certain factors that are just part of the deal. Another interesting piece, when I was thinking about this morning as I was creating my outline for the show, I thought, well, you also have to choose to use your education or the skill set that you've gained, because there are some people that go to school and they never use it. They go back to the same field that they were working in, or they don't complete the course, or whatever the case may be. So they don't complete it or they don't use it. So that is another choice that you have to make when you're getting toward usually the end of the program. Are you going to actually go and find a job or a career in that field? Or are you going to go back to something else? You're going to completely shift your direction. And again, I have no judgment. You do what's right for you. You do what's right for you. This is about awareness. This is about consciously choosing. That's what we're talking about today, not about whether a choice is right or wrong or good or bad. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes. Yes. Okay. So think about this from like choosing that new career. So does it bring you greater financial resources? Are there benefits to that job? A lot of us, when we have a job at bigger companies anyway, get like health benefits and things like that. Are there benefits? Or maybe you get to travel, or maybe they're going to pay for your car, or whatever the case may be. So there are usually financial benefits to doing something like this and moving into a new career. It also could bring you more satisfaction. And sometimes the satisfaction in your work is actually of more appeal than the dollar. Sometimes it's more important for us to be happy with the work that we're doing, or to work in an environment that is, not toxic, that's healthy, where we like the people that we're working with. Sometimes that's the thing. Okay. So what are the benefits? What are the benefits? And what are the responsibilities that come with that work? So if you're somebody who's worked on your own for a long time, do you want to report to a boss? Do you want to have a manager who's going to sort of tell you what to do? Do you want to have tasks assigned that? And I found this really difficult. I had been in my accounting business for a long time. When I moved to Alberta, I had to take a job, and it was very difficult for me because I walked into this job and it was actually a mat leave. So I was supposed to be there for a certain period of time to cover while this lady was off having her baby and raising it for the first however many months. And when I walked into the job, the training that I had was not something that the other lady had had. So I completely revamped the system. And, I completely revamped the system, which, number one, wasn't appreciated. Number two, it made it so that I was done my work a lot more quickly because I knew about that stuff. I understood that if I do this differently, it's going to save time. If I do this differently, it's going to be more efficient. And so when I walked into that job, I went in with this, like, okay, so I know that we need to do this and this and this and this and this and this. It was very difficult for me to be told by someone else, this is how it has to be done. It was also very difficult for me to sort of have that consequence of, what do you mean you changed the system? What do you mean? Now I don't know how to do my job. Do you see what I'm saying? So sometimes we go into it with the best intentions. There are always going to be consequences. Good, bad, they're consequences. Okay. So greater responsibility sometimes means more time away from your family or your friends or your activities that you enjoy, whatever the case may be. I knew somebody who lived in one city and drove truck in another city, and he had to be away from home a lot. So he had to have a place to stay in the city that he worked in. It impacted his time with his kids, all that kind of stuff. So for him, the money was better, and that was the important factor at that point. But that might not be true for someone else. Someone else might say, no, I want to be able to spend time with my kids every day. I'm not taking that. So that's where you make your choices. You gather the information, you get clarity on what it is that you're choosing, and then you go from there. So let's even talk about a promotion at work. Maybe you're offered a promotion at work and you decide that you're going to take it. And with that promotion, you're going to get better benefits. You're going to get better money, whatever it is. But there's also the responsibility of dealing with people that you didn't have to deal with before. Maybe you're now the person who has to handle the office politics or the nonsense, or, people not showing up for work when they're supposed to be there, or any number of other things, right? Usually when we up level our career or our job, there are more responsibilities that go with us. It's very, very important to understand what those differences are. When we choose a relationship with someone, and this could be, it could be anything. It could be friends, it could be spouse, it could be even family members. When we choose to have a relationship with someone, we are choosing to have them in our space. We are choosing to bring them into our world in a certain way. So, for example, if you choose to marry a certain person, then that person will likely be more a part of your life than they were before you got married, right? And you're also choosing the good and the bad. We all this one's an easy one to talk about because we all understand that there are vows that we take, right? For better or worse. So I'm choosing to have this person in, likely in my home and in my bed and in my space every day. And it's important for us to get clear on what that means before we do it, isn't it? Right. So we're making a choice to bring that person into our world. When we choose to be a parent, and I know that sometimes this is a thing that people could really push back against. But when you choose to be a parent, you are making a choice. There are responsibilities that go along with raising a child, aren't there? You're choosing to be the person who is there for that child and guides that child and teaches that child and provides them with a roof over their head and food and all the resources that they need for at least 18 years. But many of us, it goes way beyond that, doesn't it? Like once you become a parent, you're never not going to be a parent again. Do you see what I'm saying? So there are responsibilities that come with that choice. You also get the satisfaction and joy from being part of that person's development, from watching them grow, from seeing them learn and do well for themselves at every stage of life. And again, we're also choosing to deal with the difficult stuff, like the behaviors that could be a problem. There could be health issues. There could be any number of different things. So when we choose to become a parent, those are part of the gig. They're just part of it. Okay. So that's what we're talking about. There are certain responsibilities that come with the choices that we make. When we feel like I have to, when we feel like we are forced into a corner, then we're not acknowledging that. We're not acknowledging that we chose the circumstances in the first place. We're not acknowledging, like, it would be wonderful if I could wave my magic wand and go bibbity bobbity boo, and your world was full of rainbows and unicorns, wouldn't it? It would be wonderful if that could happen, but that's not life on this planet, is it? There will always be difficult circumstances. There will always be times when things are not easy. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about choosing how we're going to be with those circumstances. Okay. You understand that you've gotten yourself into this thing by making that choice. Now, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to own it and be responsible for it and say, okay, this is just part of the thing. If I want to buy a home, I am required to pay the mortgage, the taxes, maintaining all of that kind of stuff. If you don't want the responsibilities, don't choose it. If you don't want the responsibilities, don't choose it. All right. So anything that we choose to invest our time, our energy, our emotion, anything like that in, anything will likely have some pleasant and some unpleasant consequences. That's just the way it is. The trick is to choose wisely for yourself. So if you are somebody, for example, who is involved with someone who has been really irresponsible with money throughout your entire relationship, as long as you've known them, they cannot manage their money, doesn't matter. Maybe they try, maybe they don't, I don't know. But if that has historically been a factor in your relationship, getting married is not going to change that. Getting married is not going to change that. And that means that you are going into it knowing this is what this person is like. This is what my financial circumstances are like when they are part of my life. When we are combining our money, this is what I can expect. So you can't expect that walking down that aisle and saying some nice words to each other, putting a ring on that finger, whatever it is, it's not going to change that person. It's not going to change you either. They're getting you in all your glory. You're getting them in all of theirs. Okay. So when we are making these choices, it's very, very important for us to be clear and not overly romanticizing the circumstances. Oh, I'm going to be a mommy. Oh, okay, well, that means I'm probably not going to sleep very much for several months. And there's going to be dirty diapers, and and it also means I'm going to get those cuddles. Oh, yeah, baby cuddles, right? I'm going to get those cuddles, and I'm going to get to hear them giggle and laugh, and I'm going to get to play, and I'm all of that stuff. So you see, like, there's always some good and some not so good, always. Okay. So we've got to head to our next break. So you're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Today, we are talking about the importance of understanding the art of choosing, even when you may not think you are. So stick with us for just a moment. We will be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott.
To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about you always have a choice, the art of understanding, the choosing, and even when you think you're not making a choice, you always are. It's an interesting thing. So in this segment, always in the third segment of the show, we talk about some tips and some how-tos. So I'm going to encourage you, if you haven't already, go grab that pen and paper. And if you need to go back and listen to the show again, we are always on inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. All of the episodes you can find under Time to Rise and Thrive or under Jackie Mott. You can find all of the recordings. So you can go back and listen to this as many times as you like, or, whatever, any of the other shows. There's so much stuff. Every single Friday, we talk about mindset issues. We talk about freeing ourselves from those limitations and the belief systems that are holding us back every single week. So I would encourage you, if you're somebody that is in that place, or even just this resonates with you, come back and join me on Friday afternoons. Go back and watch the podcast recordings later. I would love to have you. I would also love to hear your thoughts. So one other quick thing. I am so having fun in my world right now. The creative processes for me so far this year have been wonderful. And one of the things that I have done, but I haven't done it for a while, is I do this Unstoppable You session with clients. It is so much fun for me. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to let you know that for the first 5 people who decide that they want to take action on this, they want to talk about their limiting beliefs, they want to talk about what they're struggling with right now. For the first 5 people, I'm going to gift you one of these sessions. The value of this is $197. So 5 people will get this. So you can do one of 2 things. You can email me at jackie@jackiemott.com. And all you have to do is type in there, I'm in, I want this, something like that. And then we will take it from there. We'll get in contact with you. We'll set up the appointment, all of that kind of stuff. You could also go to bookacallwithjackie.com, bookacallwithjackie.com, and you'll be able to set it up right from there. So if you'd like to take advantage of that, 5 of you are going to get a $197 value. Time with me. I love this stuff. I'm so happy to be able to do this for you. So please get in touch with me if that's something that speaks to you. So now let's get into our tips. Let's get into our how. How do we shift, especially when we're feeling this, like, I have no choice, I have to do this thing. Okay. So we're going to talk about 2 different circumstances, which is a bit unusual for what we do in this section, but we're going to talk about first the choosing process. So when you're making a big decision for yourself, and after that, what do you do when you feel like the circumstances are completely outside of your control? What do you do so that you can shift that and have more ease or more peace or more whatever you need to have in that circumstance? Okay, so first we are addressing making a decision. So the first thing that you need to do is be honest with yourself. Like we talked about before, you've got a child. If you're going to become a parent, everybody knows there are diapers to be changed. Everybody knows that you're going to be responsible for care for that child. Everybody knows these things. So just be honest with yourself and make sure that that's something that you're okay with taking on those responsibilities. There are always going to be additional responsibilities in any choice that we are making to shift or move things in our world. There will always be additional responsibilities and often consequences. Again, they may be good, they may be bad, they're probably both. Financial commitments. What are the financial commitments? If I'm going to go back to school, does that mean that I need to get a loan to pay for my schooling? Does that mean that I'm going to take money out of my investments? Does that mean that my savings are going to be depleted? What are the financial commitments to the decision that I'm trying to make? If I'm going to buy a home, there are financial commitments there. Again, anything, almost anything that you do in this life, there will be some financial commitment. Even if you want to take a trip, Think about that for a second. When I decide that I'm going to go away for a week, then hopefully I have a wonderful time and I come back feeling rested, and maybe, if I've gone someplace really nice and sunny, maybe I've got a nice tan or a glow or whatever the case may be. But it also involves the travel, which means that I may have to deal with airport busyness. I'm going to have to sit beside somebody on a plane, or I'm going to have to drive for a long time to get there, or whatever that is. So even when we're doing something that is fun for us, or we're looking forward to doing it, there are things that are required of us in order to make it happen. Do you see what I'm saying? Always there is a choice. What are the legal commitments? So if you choose to move in with your partner, there are commitments that come along with that. Maybe they're legal. Maybe it's like a division of labor within the home. It could be a number of different things. If you marry someone, there are very, very clearly legal consequences and commitments in that situation. If you are starting up a business, do you have contracts? Those contracts are legal commitments. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's always those things. Get clear on what those things are that are going to be required of you in making that choice as you're going through your decision-making process. Then the next thing is to decide whether or not you are willing to accept those things. If you are someone who has decided to go back to school and then you get, 5 steps into the process, this actually happened to me. So I've been a bookkeeper for a very, very long time. And I had learned so much from the accountants that I'd worked with. And at a certain point, I thought, why am I still being paid as a bookkeeper when I could go back to school and get those letters that say that I'm a full-fledged accountant and make a whole lot more money? So I looked into it and I got about 10 steps into the process and went, no, it's not the right direction. What I found out was, under my circumstances, I was going to have to continue to work. So I would only be able to do the part-time education. There was a healthy financial commitment. I think it was about $100,000 that I would have to invest in making that change in my career. And it would take me about 10 years. It didn't make sense to me. I was probably close to 40 at that point, and I thought, I don't want to do that at this stage of my life. So make the decision, understand what the requirements are, what the commitments are, what the consequences are going into it, and then decide whether or not that's something you want to deal with. Third thing, if you are, go for it. And if not, change your mind. Change your mind and do something. One of the things that's very important for us to understand is you are always responsible for those decisions that you make for yourself. You are the person who has to live with it. It doesn't matter if someone else is saying it's a good idea. It doesn't matter if you feel like you should do something. You're the person who's going to live with the consequences of that decision. Be sure you are the person who is choosing, actively choosing and consciously choosing that thing for yourself, particularly if it's a long-term commitment of some description. So now we're going to get into, if you're dealing with a situation where the circumstances are outside of your control. This is happening for a lot of people my age, or like a lot of the people that I know there's an elderly parent, or there's a child. There are things like that where so now you're the parent. What happens if the child gets sick? What happens if the parent needs more support? What happens if? Do you see what I'm saying? So there are circumstances that are dictated by things outside of our control, but we can still choose how we're going to be with those things. And one of the things that it's really important to understand is that you can choose to engage or not engage. Your belief system will tell you, that I should do this. This is the thing that a good daughter would do. This is a good thing this is the thing that a good mom would do. You don't have to choose that. You don't have to choose that. Okay. And again, I'm not saying anything right or wrong. You are the person who makes the choice of, this is what I think is the right thing to do. All right. One of my friends was talking with me about an elderly family member in their family this week. And we were talking about this. When I make these sorts of choices, one of the things that it's my sort of test, I have to live with myself after this. So am I going to be able to look at myself in the mirror and be comfortable with the choice that I made either way? which way is going to make me feel better about what I've done in the long run. Very important. Your mindset will also dictate your feelings about those responsibilities. Your mindset will dictate your feelings about those responsibilities. You have to live with yourself. You can choose or not choose. It's completely up to you. The last thing, decide how you're going to be with those circumstances. So you can choose to perceive it from an I have to place where you feel put upon, and where, that can breed a lot of resentment. That can breed a lot of resentment. Or you can choose that this is the thing that I think is best, and I'm going to work with the responsibilities and the circumstances because I chose it. Because I chose it. This is part of it. This is what I need to do. I'm choosing to do what is required under these circumstances, or I'm choosing to walk away and let somebody else do it. You get to choose always, even when maybe you don't realize you're choosing. All right, so we have to go to our last break. I'm talking a little bit too much about this. It's an in-depth topic, right? It's an in-depth topic. It's a lot of interesting information to consider. So you're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott. When we come back, we're going to wrap up today's conversation about the importance of understanding the art of choosing. Stick with us for just a minute. We'll be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott, mindset and empowerment expert. Today we have been talking about you always have a choice, understanding the importance of the art of choosing. And it really can free you up in so many different ways. When we choose a circumstance, we actually have more ease. We have more peace sometimes with whatever that choice is, or what has happened, or what we are required to do, because we made a choice consciously, with awareness, with thought. We made that choice. So just to wrap this thing up, I was a hockey mom for a long time. I loved it. And, it fascinates me because sometimes I talk to people and they're like, oh, I have to do this and I have to do that. When we are choosing a circumstance, there are responsibilities that go along with that. So to be a hockey mom, I had to understand that there were going to be time commitments. There were going to be scheduling stuff that I had to be aware of. There were going to be the practices and games, and My son needed to be there for the practices and games. So there was a time commitment. There was an energy equipment or energy commitment. So there's a time commitment and an energy equipment that if I'm going to enroll my son in hockey, then these are the things that need to happen. And these are my responsibilities in order to do that. There's also the emotional commitment. What happens when your kid loses a game and they're heartbroken and they're upset? Or they have a problem with somebody on the team, or what do you call them, the referees they didn't make a good call. There's the emotional commitment of helping your child to do that thing that they want to do. Don't forget about the finances, right? There's a financial commitment of I need to make sure they have safe equipment, the proper equipment to keep them safe while they're doing that activity. There could be travel. There could be any number of different things, registrations. If it's a dance thing instead of hockey, there are costumes. If they're going to participate in art classes and like whatever it is, right? Or piano lessons, there are costs that are involved in all of those things. So we need to just be understanding of, if I want to allow my child to do these activities, then these are the things that are going to be required. And if you don't want to do those, then don't. And again, this is where you will have to make a choice on, do I feel like it's important for my child to register for these things, to be involved in these kinds of activities? Or am I going to be okay with not doing it because I really don't feel like, doing the stuff that's required? You get to make that choice. So when you are making these choices, do what you need to do, whatever it is, to give yourself that peace and that peace and ease with the decision that you've made, because that makes it so much easier when you're dealing with those responsibilities. So that's what I've got for you today. Our quote to leave you with today: even when it feels like you have no choice, you always do. Be honest with yourself and understand there are consequences for every single choice, even if you choose not to make a choice. When we're purposeful and honest with ourselves, those consequences can be a lot more palatable. Yes. All right, my friends, thank you so much for being with us today on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. Again, I am Jackie Mott, mindset and empowerment expert. You can find me on my website, jackiemott.com. You can find me on Facebook, Jackie Mott, mindset and empowerment expert. You can find me here every single Friday. We are live every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central. What is it? 11 Mountain and 10 Pacific, I think is how it works out. Next week's show is called Manifesting. What are you waiting for? We're going to be talking about that whole idea of, I'm on this side and the thing that I want is over there. Yeah. What are you waiting for? Let's get busy looking for the resources to create the bridge that's going to get me there. That's what next week is going to be all about. So we're going to talk about getting rid of those limiting beliefs. We're going to talk about all kinds of wonderful stuff around this manifesting thing. Whether we realize it or we don't, we are always creating our circumstances to support our belief systems. So our subliminal soundtrack is really very important for us to get clarity and understanding about what is happening there and what we need to do to shift those things. So again, you can go 5 people. 5 people are going to get a free session or complimentary session, the Unstoppable You Call with me. Go to jackiemott.com, or email me at jackie@jackiemott.com, or you can go to bookacallwithjackie.com and book the call yourself. I would love to speak with you and share with you, what is it that's holding you back? What would you like to accomplish? Isn't it nice to think about that? What would you like to have? What would you like to have? And what can we do to start to create that thing for you? I love being with you here every Friday afternoon. It really is actually my favorite time of the week. It really is. So thank you so much again for being with me, for your time, for your energy, for your investment in the show and in what we do. Please, please feel free to go back onto Inspired Choices Network.com and find prior sessions, prior episodes. I don't know what is wrong with my mouth today. Go back and find anything. We've got all kinds of stuff: how to learn to love yourself, how to manifest things, breaking free, all kinds of wonderful stuff. So thanks again so much for being with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. We will see you back here next week.
Thank you for joining us for Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. Jackie Mott will return next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Have a fantastic week, and remember, it's your time to rise and thrive.